Everybody, I'm Aline. I'm one of the co-founders at Nomad Soulmates. Super excited to be here. So if you don't know, Nomad Soulmates is a beautiful community for single remote workers and digital nomads who want to find love and meaningful connections. And yeah, so we help people to connect. And over the past 8 years or so that I've been leading that community, I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. I've been into this topic of dating, love, and relationships intensively. Have read many books on the topics. I've been having dating and relationship coaching myself. So I've been really into that, and I feel like I have a lot to share on that. So I'm very excited that Digital Nomad World has reached out to lead the conversations here around these really interesting and juicy topics that are there to cover. Um, so what I'm intending to be doing, just real quick before we dive into today's content, is really to take each month and dive into a specific topic more deeply so we can open up conversations. This is more or less a teaching session. Hopefully you will take away some things from from these sessions, and if you have anything you would like to share from your perspective, from your experience, please let me know or us know in the comments. And yeah, so we just evolve as we go. And today, so like I said, I'm going to bring several topics every month. And today it's all about, or this month of September, is all about overcoming loneliness. And specifically today, like finding joy in solitude and while still remaining open to connecting with other people. Because I feel we as nomads are super good with like being comfortable alone, which is a really good thing, but also it can trick you into actually not meeting people, or it depends, I guess, in which phase you are. I remember when I first started being a nomad, I was oversaturated with networking. So there's, I guess, a balance there, and we dive into that in a moment. But it's just, it can sometimes feel lonely as we are really diving deep into solitude. And loneliness is different from from solitude. I view that as the one. Loneliness is, I guess, an unwanted feeling, um, and solitude, however, is a choice, right? We choose to um, being our solitude. And I think most of us remote workers and nomads have chosen a lifestyle that just comes with that as well. So, but that is the thing, not when I started a nomad, I wasn't really thinking about that part so much. But then it came catched up later that it can actually get quite lonely. And so we kind of want to not avoid, because I think it's still important that we feel all the feelings. Um, and part of that is also loneliness, but to not completely, when we feel it, um, be run by it, right? By our emotions, and that we have ways to come out of it, and deal with it and overcome it. So that's about that. It's not about it being perfect, it's about navigating it. Okay, so having said that, what I would like to start with, um, I think are the benefits about solitude. I want to bring focus back to why solitude time is really important and why there can be found so much joy in it. And part of that is you are actually building your character in the time of being in your solitude time. You're building your character. You know that is the time and the play, the space to actually thinking about who I want to be in the world and what makes me feel alive and what drives me, what passions do I have. And it's like a time of exploration, so that when you're feeling really comfortable with yourself and joyful with yourself, it is so much more magnetic to other people wanting to join you and feel curious about you, right? It's having a full, rich life, which I think many nomads have. Mental clarity, especially when it comes to dating. I think what's important is to have a vision and an intention going into dating, and there will be an entire session about just that. So I will share with you what I've learned about this, and it has totally transformed my world. But just like that mental clarity and understanding of who you are and what you want in your life, specifically in another person, is so profound. And so yeah, it just gives back so much. Then also a big one, personally I learned this a lot, is emotional regulation. Whether that is like taking a couple of days to respond to perhaps a trigger, or just a moment of pause, which is definitely something I'm also working on. But like, I think what I really made it a practice, and I can only highly recommend, is that whenever we feel triggered by something or someone, and triggered is a big word, it can also be like activated, right? Sometimes we just feel it in our body, this little, oh, that doesn't feel good. But sometimes in the moment we don't like know what is the underlying feeling or emotion there. And so we tend to react right away, and that oftentimes just doesn't, like, the outcome of these in the moment reactions are not always the best. And so I noticed whenever I take some time and allow myself to have that time, I usually have much better conversations, much better, yeah, my mind is so much more clear. I'm sure I'm not alone with that experience. And I guess other ways to really be practical about embracing that solitude time and feel a lot of joy through that is, for example, mindfulness practices. Um, I used to journal a lot. I really want to bring that back into my life. In fact, that really helped me a lot to ground and to make the time that I have by myself feel meaningful, or setting goals or ambitions, or yeah, thinking about where to travel next. And so some time in solitude can really help to tune into our bodies, which is so important, and like kind of switch the mind off if possible, but feel it, really feeling the body when we're still, right, and not distracted. So yeah, other activities can be a walk in the forest or meditation. These are like daily things we can do to bring us back. And it doesn't need to be, especially when we're traveling through cities, right? We don't have to escape those necessarily in order to have positive time of solitude. We can also just set some time up, for example, in the morning, to have that space for ourselves, because I'm sure you feel that too, or felt that before. Whenever you have time for yourself, it's so much better than to be present with others and give to others. Or what I actually used to be doing is little self retreats. In fact, 4 times a year, I used to go on 1 week retreats by myself and do a little life audit, just to like see, okay, which areas of my life need attention, what goes well, what doesn't. And you don't have to book a whole week, but I just really enjoyed that time that I had for myself. Can be just like a day, right, where you just by yourself, um, and think about that. I just kind of mentioned that a little bit. Digital detox, that is another really beautiful way to enjoy the time in solitude. And I would recommend always thinking about, so when you are with yourself and do a digital detox, what do you want to do? I don't know if you feel similarly, but whenever I'm detaching from my devices, I kind of dip first into like, holy shit, what am I gonna do kind of moments. Definitely guilty there. And it's interesting how that always brings me to like, wow, I really want to spend so much less like time on my devices, because who am I without them, right? I'd like to find hobbies that fill me up, and maybe actually then tuning towards finding more connection with other people. So that kind of brings me to the topic of how to stay and solid, like how to enjoy solitude time while also being open for connection. So what I think and what I see happen oftentimes and experienced myself is that I become so comfortable with being by myself that I don't necessarily feel the need to connect with others until like loneliness suddenly creeps in and I do feel the need. But oftentimes it's then a little bit not too late, right? It's not wrong, but there is like a sense of, yeah, feeling disconnected, I guess, to other people, and it feels harder to reach out to people. But what helped me a lot is that balance, always keeping a balance of my solitude time and also like connecting with other people in meaningful ways. So what I mentioned before with the self retreat would be like a strategy I had to make that happen and to have like little checkpoints for myself, but then having that balance and coming out of my retreat and being basically with other people. Um, and then really staying mindful about who I'm connecting with. So, what you could be doing, I think that works as well really well with introverts who feel a little like shy making connections, is to either go to events that you're already curious about rather than like parties, or actually creating these events yourself. So that's what I've been doing in Bali a lot, is to host little meetups, or was just trying to catch up with people over dinners and created little get-togethers. I would like to go to circles where other people shared and open up. So we had actually really vulnerable and open conversations. And I, in a moment about that a little more. So I think just being mindful about when you do, oh, like when you do switch from solitude to connection, where do you want to be, right? So that is one big thing. And also listening to your intuition. I think quite often we actually know if it's time for retreating or if it's time for connection. And not listening to that feeling can sometimes really exhaust us. And I've been doing that, I guess, mistake to wanting to be there for my friends when really I didn't like my cup was just not full. And so I wanted to make everything right, right? So but eventually it didn't serve me, it didn't serve the situation or them. So yeah, it usually just backfired. So listening to your intuition, tuning in with yourself every day, like what is it that I feel that I need, um, really helps to stay open, but also understanding when you have to or want to retreat again. And then quality time, quality over quantity. So that really helped me to understand, okay, I would like to meet these type of people, um, either for dating or for connecting on a soul level as friends. Um, but I was quite intentional, or am quite intentional about my time, and I would, yeah, make time for the people that I'm naturally curious about or interested in. Um, and I less go to like places. Well, I still have time, like sometimes fun with that. That's not that, but just overall, like networking and big parties or big meetups usually is not for me personally the way to go, oftentimes just because there's a lot more small talk going on. And I know about myself already that I love deep conversations. Um, so that's not always the best time to like, yeah, dive into topics about life and relationships and everything like that I love talking about. But so you can be quite intentional about that as well. How would you mm, integrate, I guess, solitude and connection into your life? I think one big thing that I've learned and can only encourage you to do is having boundaries with yourself. Boundaries to, like, that could just look like clearing your calendar with every, like, of everything that you actually a no to. So sometimes we end up overcommitting ourselves to tasks or to meeting people that we love, but it's just not the right time because perhaps you just have like, maybe you just don't feel it, or internally, like I get that sometimes where I feel internally I might have the time, but internally I just feel it's I'm antsy or feeling uneasy. And so I know if I would go to that meeting, I would just not feel fully present. And so, like, allowing myself to reschedule or cancel things is so okay. And I think that is like one way to integrate connection and solid, like, again, like that beautiful balance between the two. Mm, and then again, like I mentioned before, listening to your needs, listening to your gut is important, to feel your body honestly. Like we get so flooded with information from the outside world that it really can numb um, us from the connection to ourselves. So I would taking a moment in the morning, for example, and imagining what the day looks like or what it could look like. What are you still open for the things that you set yourself out to, and if not, like what, how can you adjust? So I really work on this energetic level. I'm not sure if I'm representing the majority, but for example, I knew in the morning I would need to like tune in a little bit and see from where do I want to work from to feel inspired and creative. So I would go in my mind through how would I feel in certain cafes or in a co-working space. Would I feel productive there? Yes or no? That is literally how I would sort out um, what I want to do, and yeah, just tuning into my, what do I need right now. So there's a little example, and you can do the same thing with um, choosing solitude time over connection or other way around. um, and then I think, having said all this, I think one big thing that many don't, or we just don't talk enough about, is the fear of reaching out. So overcoming that fear to, like, again, what I mentioned, when we are so comfortable with being alone, it's almost so, it's almost vulnerable of, can feel scary to suddenly then reach out to people and make connections, and we forget a little bit like how is it again to be social. um and I think it comes down to first understanding that fear, that we all come with some insecurities. Not everyone resonates perhaps with that. It depends of, I guess, if you're an introvert or more tending towards the extroverted side. I'm definitely switching between both. I never really know, am I an extroverted introvert or other way around, or yeah. Another thing I see, especially oftentimes in the dating world, is initiating the contact, right? If you see someone that you really like, it's the fear of reaching out. It comes with like having these expectations unwantingly, obviously, in many situations, but there is like that fear of rejection. One tip I have about that is to open up a conversation and give them a compliment. It doesn't matter if men or women. I know that actually men really appreciate compliments. We women too, but men hear them way less than we women do. So give a compliment and see what happens, or smile at someone and see what happens, right? Be open to, yeah, like I think be open to making connections that way. Like you could connect through common interests perhaps, right? So reaching out and share, hey, do you want to do this XYZ with me next weekend? I would love to connect. We haven't spoken in a while. Like you could like share desires like that. One of the most beautiful ways to connect with people is to be vulnerable, and that can be in like the first approach of like dating someone, or with a long known friend. Vulnerability really helps to see the other person, your inner world, and they immediately have a way to connect with you and feel like they resonate with you. So yeah, so it's very scary at times, because, and you should not necessarily always do that. When you don't feel safe to do that, don't do it. But it can really be so rewarding. So for example, if you're fancy someone for and you want to talk to them and it feels scary, you could tell them, hey, I'm actually a little nervous or shy, but I wanted to let you know that, I don't know, that I really like your dress. It suits you super well, or whatever. Like you can come up with whatever sparks your attention, or like gets your attention, I mean. And usually that is so sweet. We don't hear that very often. Like people being nervous about reaching out to us. Like how cute is that? um yeah, and so you immediately creating a much deeper bond with someone. For men, sometimes that can feel a lot more difficult than for us women. We women are so used to like give each other compliments and feel like share about our vulnerability, like insecurities and all that. That not obviously I'm not speaking for everybody, and I'm not in the skin of a man, but just from observing that and from hearing it from men, it feels more difficult. But I can totally promise you that when you do, it really inspires the other person to be vulnerable as well, and you will create a beautiful connection. So I would say, like wrapping it up as a conclusion, that the greatest joy, whether that is in times of solitude or connecting with others, is when we're fully present and we're actually enjoying our hobby, or when we're actually present with like the business we're building, or when we're present with the person we're talking to right now. You can let me know what your relationship, I think that would be really nice to know and to talk about how your relationship between like solitude time and connecting with others looks like, and how you balancing that. I think we can all learn from each other here. And then I'd like to encourage you to maybe just take a moment and journal on like how would you like to fill your time that you're currently spending by yourself. You could also get clear on what you want to feel in your solitude time, and then come up with things that would give you that feeling. So that is another way to do it. Yeah, and then share that in the comments. I would really love to see what you guys are coming up with, and it can be a conversation there. I'm super excited that I'll be creating some more content here in the community, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm here. Talk soon. Bye.